Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and start. For everyone online, thanks for logging on. This is our monthly artist talk for Alaska Photographic Center. You guys can't see, but it's a packed house here at Aquila Space. Not really, but yeah, we have Willie Dalton this month. Just a few notes before we start. If you haven't already, Rarefied Light is up at APU Galleries right now. Please go check that out. One of our board members, Jason, has a show up at IGCA. That's also, I think, in the North Gallery there. That's all the announcements I think that we have. Am I missing anything?
No, perfect.
Bonnie, I think if you said something I had my volume down.
No, that's perfect announcements. Thanks.
Cool. So then I'll just kick it over to Willie so he can start his presentation.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is indeed Willie, and I grew up here in Anchorage. And photography came, I think largely through my grandfather. He was the consummate family photographer and put a camera in my hand back when I was maybe in middle school, and did a very good job of kind of ushering me into the brave world that is being behind a lens. And so that's kind of how I got my start. And then maybe senior year of high school, I was at the King Career Center, and a lovely teacher by the name of Dean Paulson was at the helm there. And he just really let me go wild, recognized that there was a passion in me, and kind of eschewed a lot of the curriculum in order to give me a lot of freedom. And so I owe a great debt of gratitude to him in really igniting the passion and helping me to see that this is not just that, but can also be a viable and sustainable source of income. And from there, he put me into an early, internship of sorts with, Mr. Alaska Stock, Jeff Schultz, and learned more of the industrial side of the industry. And then from there, I went off to college and did the expected things and moved out of Alaska, came back to Alaska. And then from here, I met a wonderful bunch of people, primarily through Instagram in the early days of that app. And some of them are on the screen here tonight, Young and Jovel. And then sometime after that came and met other people who came to mentor me and push me further along as an artist and a business person. And then somewhere within that mix, I also met my wife, Johanna, and about a year and a half ago, we had our son, Otis. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't show a few photos of him because, well, he's the best looking and easiest going subject that I have at my disposal right now, whether he's playing cleanly or otherwise, although that one might have been my fault, I think. Nonetheless, I need to get back and focus because we're here not to talk about Otis, but we're here to talk about me. It's a very, very selfish talk. Here's an old shot of myself. And I think it was about 2016. Actually, the man can correct me himself, but roughly in that time frame, I was connected through Mr. Jeff Schultz in Alaska Stock to a man named Kevin Smith. And excuse me. he introduced me to the world of architecture photography and, put me to work in a very real way and challenged me to do more than what I was shooting at the time, which was, yes, landscapes. I was kind of solidly locked into what I felt was a fun, but albeit very easy thing to point a camera at. And so spent a lot of time being outside. I'm certainly a person that loves being outdoors. I was raised by two parents who are very crunchy granola and had us outside a lot as kids. And so it was only natural to take my camera with me and point it at the pretty stuff that didn't move. But if I'm really digging deep here, this wasn't bringing me a lot of joy. It was certainly fun and a great way to learn more of the nuances of how to work your camera in different lighting conditions. But the natural progression is, of course, to put a person in it, because how do you gain a sense of scale or depth with all these beautiful pictures of mountains unless there's people in it? And so I felt like I was pushing myself and taking the next step. And certainly the introvert in me was challenged by having to put people in frame. And I did my best to kind of go after that commercial, outdoor, active lifestyle realm. But again, I'm an introvert. I am not super great at working with people. And so it always kind of felt like, very, very subtly, that I was forcing it. And as much as I have a lot of fun with images like these, they are just that. And so what's the natural next progression? Well, of course, yes. And so I got into the filmmaking side of things and started doing some documentary work and some short commercial work. And it was all well and good. But through Kevin, I kept getting pulled back. Lost my connection. To this architecture thing. And it just continued to pique my interest when all these other things would ebb and flow with such consistency. And so at the same time, I was kind of wandering about and all that, I found out that I kind of enjoy working with my hands. And so I started building little pieces of furniture for our house. There's one of them there. But if you've never watched a YouTube video with a very honest person behind the camera who is doing anything with their hands, they should be the first to tell you that it is 10x the level of difficulty to do something difficult and document it at the same time, especially if you want to be in that frame at all. And so you will not see any photos of me and my woodworking because it's a line that I decided I didn't want to cross. And so I decided that I was going to add and not subtract. So for me, that meant continuing to vacillate, jump all over the place, be the Willie that's outside, taking pictures, adding and adding and adding. So here I am, taking every bit of subject matter that I can in my frame, and I'm still going on these shoots with Kevin. He's taken me under his wing, and we're pointing our cameras at, sure, some humans, but a lot of things that don't move, and a lot of things that a lot of humans spent years of time to design and craft. And I really started to understand that this cross section of me being a person who doesn't love always interacting with people, but loving working with my hands, loving using a camera, that there could be something to architecture photography. And so I continued to work with Kevin. I continued to make connections, and these photos here were all shot for a high-end home builder called Willow Ridge. Spoiler alert, that is now where I'm working. And I enjoyed it, but I was begrudgingly enjoying it. It was a stubborn Willie coming out to play, and it took time. It took making images like this that I was genuinely very proud of, and that took time and effort to execute, to get me to realize that this is okay, that I can take images that many people might find mundane, but to me, there is so much depth, not just in the image itself, but the story that the structure tells, of the craftsmanship of it, of the design, the architecture. And so I can show you many of these beautiful, I don't know, golden hour images that, if I'm being honest, and I will be honest with you, are easy to shoot because, of course, the light is soft, it's indirect, the sun has set, and you're letting the ambient and artificial lighting of the structure itself do much of the heavy lifting. Now, of course, there were many power cords running through this frame that had to be photoshopped out because there's light that I'm adding in myself. Nonetheless, it takes a much better photographer to make a good image of a structure at high noon than it does one at twilight. So here we are. I'm shooting and I'm shooting, and I'm making images that I'm proud of, but they're all the easy stuff. And yes, that's the hero shot. That's the shot that sells houses if you are Willow Ridge Construction. But what about Willie as a photographer? Willie, who wants to be creatively fulfilled. Well, it means searching for the unexpected, and in a lot of sense, searching for things that probably have less or little value to, say, an end client. And to me, that's always a challenging thing, and probably to any photographer who has a strong moral compass, you don't want to waste your client's time. And I think that is the most well-intentioned thing you can hold on any commercial set when someone is paying for your time. And I would also argue that if you aren't bringing 100% of your creativity to the shoot, then you probably shouldn't be there. And so that means that you have to be firing on all cylinders. And I very quickly found myself in this position of being sent out to photograph these homes and finding myself taking the very safe, expected shots and not, say, taking shots like this, which, man, to me, just grab my attention. Like, I want to see the texture in that wood, and I want a caption right below it that's telling you all about the process of torching this cedar with a literal blowtorch and then brushing off the charred soot of the surface to reveal that grain, that color. There's so much in these images that can tell a greater story about why this isn't just a boring house on a street, but a place that many, many people poured thousands of hours into with passion. And why shouldn't I be doing the same thing with my art? Because if they're pouring their heart and soul, their sweat and their good years of the movement of their finger joints, then shoot, I should be striving for nothing less than that, because these are artisans that are putting these structures together. So I realized that the expected hero shot looks like this. And maybe the less valuable to some, but the more valuable to me is something more like this. That certainly on a website might look and or feel like a very different photo than the architect would want. But that doesn't mean that there's one, not a place for it in their portfolio, and two, there's not a place for it in my camera. That the act of me creating this image frees my creativity to be that much more emboldened and free flowing on the rest of the shoot. And so in my mind, call it a rationalization or not, but I will always take the time to, yes, shoot these images because they're important and they serve a purpose. And you can spend so much time masterfully lighting them to highlight every single texture and facade. But it's important to take images not just like this, but also like this. Because I am just a human, and I need to satiate my creative desires. And this image in particular, the owner of the home saw it and said, you know, I think I'm gonna need a print of that. The architect had no interest in it, but the homeowner and also the metal worker who welded the railing were really, really interested in how it showed a very different perspective than what normally you would see. To play around with the light of it was also a lot of fun. Yeah, I think this image, it's safe, it's fine, you know, it's perfectly well composed, but it just doesn't say nearly as much as something like that. And to me, those are the images that are going to keep me getting out of bed and going to the next shoot, knowing that Gabe here, the man who welded that railing, is out making the next thing that I get to photograph. And so how am I doing Gabe justice? What are the tiny details that, shoot, maybe the homeowner of this fancy entryway door might not even notice, but an image from a different perspective than they might ever take might just highlight a different feature and show a bit of the artistry behind the place that they call home. And so that mindset shift really allowed me to take what was largely an office job with the occasional photo shoot into one much more interesting and energetic photography for me. But more importantly than that, that I could be proud of the work that I'm getting and then see that work go further. I think so many of the clients that I have worked with have their ways set in their mind, and it takes a new perspective and a gracious person to show them what something different could be, and that something different might not be what exactly they're looking for in this moment, but these images live on forever. And who's to say that a year from now they might have this one strange use case where it could be of use. And so I'm lucky in my job to have my own set schedule and to be kind of owned by 3 companies. This architecture firm is in the same building as the construction company, as well as a metalwork shop, a cabinet shop, a millwork shop. And so I get to play around with a lot of people doing really, really incredible crafts. And to, yes, largely sit at a computer, making sure that all these images and videos that are created are put to good use and are serving the interests of the company, that I can tell the story of each of the people that work at this company. It's almost 80 people, and not one of them doesn't have an interesting story. They're all really fascinating people that are passionate in their own unique way about their craft. They came to their crafts in their own unique ways. They're characters, many of them. And so to take what I would respectfully call a fairly stuffy construction company, an architecture firm, to kind of break them out of their shell a little bit and show them that there's so much more humanity and detail in the work that they're being done, that they are doing day in and day out, that is largely getting missed, that these beautiful homes and buildings that they are creating are full of life, not just from the people that inhabited them, but the people that put them together. And so to be able to play witness to the process, both in the moment and also be able to kind of peel the layers back after the fact in architecture photography from every aspect, be it near and macro, is a real treat. And I count myself very lucky to be in the position that I am. I loved my years of freelance work and often find myself dreaming of greener grass. But when I sit down and go through all these images, I realize that, there's a lot of really amazing stories to be told out there. And it takes me being respectful of my creativity and my passion and managing the ebb and flow of needing to check the box and do what I have to do in order to, for lack of a better term, satisfy the quote unquote shareholders. And at the same time, there's this shareholder inside of me that is always yearning to be satisfied. And if I don't satiate it in some way, that it just atrophies in the slowest yet painful way that is so often not recognizable until after the fact. Upon reflection, I can see many seasons where my work kind of got soft, for lack of a better term. And so I think I'm largely giving myself this talk, and I'm glad that you all were able to be here to witness it. That I think I'm always going to need these constant reminders that it's okay to not specialize in one thing, and that it's okay to take a little bit of the time at the end of each assignment and make something that may only have value to nobody outside of myself. And so I'd encourage everybody who's listening to this to think about your own creativity and how you can be a better steward of it, because it's a unique beast that needs to be fed in its, often a varying and challenging menu to cater. So thank you all for coming to this talk. I would happily entertain all the questions that you would love to throw at me. You have your volume off, right?
Yeah, my volume.
Cool. I'll just turn mine on.
Can you guys hear me? It's Petra.
Petra, did you say something? I think you
Yeah.
or maybe my
Can you
speakers
hear
aren't
me?
working.
I'm not muted, so but I was curious. I can put it in the chat box as well. But first of all, thank you, Willie, for doing the talk tonight. I'm also part of the APC board, and I absolutely love your woodwork. Let's have a look.
Try yours.
Oh, what probably is it's
Better?
It's coming out of the wrong source.
Hang on, let me have a look.
I can hear you, Petra.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. Speaker.
No worries.
Loud and clear, Petra. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, I wanted to say thank you, Willie, for doing the lecture tonight for APC. I'm also part of the board. And my question for you is, I love the woodwork that you showed us, your woodwork. The photos are gorgeous as well, but I'm curious, where did you learn?
Oh man, so when I was in elementary school, late elementary school, my parents lucked into a piece of property on Skilac Lake, and we had some outfit out of Homer, I think, build a log structure of a cabin on there. And then we met this gentleman named Nelson. I'm blanking on his last name, but he was a high school photography and shop teacher. And he was willing to do all of the finished carpentry work on the inside of this cabin. And I was at that ripe young age where I was just hungry to learn, and he did a fantastic job of very patiently, yet also in his very perfectionist way, teach me the very rudimentary basics of woodworking. And that was the seed that was planted, and then I didn't really do much of anything until I was out of college and was renting a house that had something of it was not quite a garage, but something of a shed, and allowed me to have a space for tools. And I think the first little project that got me out of hibernation was a secret Santa among friends that I decided I wanted to gift a friend a handmade wooden squatty potty. Yes, you heard it right, squatty potty. And I think it might still exist. I can confirm that later. But yeah, I just kind of snowballed from there, and I found furniture making, or making things that were very utilitarian, to be of most interest to me, but primarily it's really just come down to necessity, building the furniture that I need but can't find or can't afford. And it's never really gone beyond that, although I will say I did make the silly decision to take on renovating an Airstream a couple years ago, and that quickly consumed much of my life. A lot of fun, but a lot of work. Yeah, so it's always been like a hobby of mine that I really want to protect, and through photography recognized how challenging a hobby becomes when there's money involved and it starts to become your source of income. And so I've been fairly somewhat careful to protect it and not do much that involves money, but say Young here can call me out and say that's not entirely true, but I won't go into that.
It's really beautiful. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll go if I may.
Please do.
Matt Johnson is my name, and so I guess as I look through your images, I'm reminded of a saying that a friend shared with me years ago now, and he says that art is a blue collar job, and a lot of times folks think of the artist as this, effete, sort of a elitist, intellectual, which, yeah, sure, it has an intellectual quality as well, but also you have to get up and you have to go out and you have to do the work. And I think these craftsmen that you're photographing, there's definitely a quality of art in what they're doing, working with materials and et cetera. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out on the table as, art is work, and I congratulate you on the success you've had. So well done.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for those wise words. I think there's a lot to that, and certainly also it makes me think of the few times in my life when I've kind of caught myself getting a little too big for my britches and needing to be brought back down to earth and remind myself that yes, indeed, it is blue collar, and that I do need to, to be candid, shut up and do the work and stop complaining or expecting more than I should be. So yeah, thank you for that.
I love the way that you're using your opportunity to make pictures that are actually art in people's houses. And I thought some of them were just incredible. I love the staircase, and then the one of the doorknob and the dark wood. I just thought they were beautiful. And yeah, I think taking the opportunities where they arrive. I mean, nobody else is taking shots like that, so that's great.
Yeah, thanks, Gail.
Willie, do you think that your photographic practice or process or the way you think about photography has changed since you've had a kid? Or now that you're a family man?
I think it has, in that it, if nothing else, reminded me of the time capsule nature of photography, and that even though something like a house might not age at the same rate that an infant does, nonetheless, it still does age, and that photograph is frozen time and has immense value in some way, shape, or form. And so I've caught myself being more choosy with what I delete. And it's, yeah, I think caused me to think more critically about, basically what my standards are. And of course, I spent a lot of time talking about standards, but that, these images are in theory going to outlast my time on this earth. And I think becoming a father just immediately gives you a different frame of reference for time, and how as an artist you have not just been given, in this case photography, the ability to freeze time, but also to subtract and really take away so much of the noise and really get people to focus on the signal, the essence of whatever you're trying to say as an artist. And yeah, I think parenthood is very unique in that way. And of course, you point your camera at your kids, but also I think that mental shift pervades the rest of what becomes of your art. Yeah, good question.